everyone, this is Hiba from My Little Journal, and today I'm really excited to do something a little bit different. I get asked a lot how I use larger photos in my traveler's notebook, so I decided to do a few layouts with you and share different ideas on how you can use larger photos in your traveler's notebook. Now, usually, most of the time I use smaller photos in my TN. But I also use 4x8s and I use 8x8s and 6x8s as well. But I only have 8x8s and 4x8s today. So we're going to kind of play around with this. I'm going to walk you through how I kind of come up with certain ideas and how to use these photos because I love using different sizes in my traveler's notebooks. You guys know I can go from a 1x1 inch a photo to 4x8s to 8x8s, 6x8s, all the sizes. So I'm going to share with you different ideas how you can use larger photos in your traveler's notebook. And if you enjoyed this process and love the idea of me sharing, tips and tricks on how to use larger photos in your traveler's notebook, just let me know down in the comments below. And let me know if you want me to share smaller sizes and how I come up with those ideas as well. So anyways, let's get to it. I'm going to speed this up, do a voiceover, and share with you different ideas on how to use larger size photos in your traveler's notebook. Okay, guys, let's start with this 8x8 photo of my magnolia bush. Now, I'm going to go through my traveler's notebook and try to find a pattern that is not my favorite. And why I say this is because I know I'm going to cover up most of my spread and you're not going to be able to see that pattern on the left side. I'm not a big animal print kind of person, so I'm going to cover up that pattern paper. Now what I did was I trimmed my 8x8 a little bit shorter. I probably removed like 2 inches off. And that way I will have some space on the right side to either add a title, add journaling, stamping, whatever the case is. This gives me space to add my title and journaling, especially that the photo is very, very busy. And I will share with you another spread how you can add the journaling and the embellishments on your photo when you have white space. But this photo does not have that, so I decided to leave that space empty so I can stamp. So if you're using a large photo but there's no white space, I definitely recommend to trim it down a little bit and give yourself some space to stamp and add some journaling. Now I'm going to use that space to add my title. I will also use it to add a bit of journaling and some stamping. Now I ended up using Studio Calico's Alpha Stamps, and the stamp set comes with like an outline and an inline. So I'm going to use the inline to bring in a pop of color. Now it's really easy to just match your ink pads with your photo. I could have totally went with this beautiful purple from my magnolia bush, but this is a great way to bring in a different color to your spread and make your photo pop even more. So I went with this beautiful yellow. It matches really well. It gave a pop of color to my spread and it was perfect. Now I could have totally left it as is and added my journaling right underneath my title, but why would I do that? I went ahead and used some of my botanical stamp sets to add some leaves to my title. I'll even grab my Plant Lady stamp set from Everyday Explorers to add little tidbits here and there, just little mini subtitles to my spring title. I'll even use the little box from that stamp set to add my journaling. Now, because there's not really much to say about my magnolia tree, so I thought this little box where you can kind of journal about your bush or your tree and how you take care of it was perfect for that. So literally that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stamp it on some white paper and trim it out. Now I decided to do this because my space is not big enough for this card, and it's a great way to kind of layer over my photo. So I decided to stamp it on white paper, trim it out, and then stick it over kind of a little bit over the edge of my photo. It brings in some interest and it just changes it up a little bit. Now I'm almost done with my spread. All I'm gonna do is just stamp a little bit more, add a chipboard in yellow just to bring in more of the yellow from my title, and then I call it done. I love this type of spread. I love trimming down my 8x8s. This probably turned out to be a 6x8 if I'm not mistaken, but just adding that space for yourself. It could be to the side, to the bottom, wherever it works for you. Just go for it. It's a great way and a great space for you to add your title and journaling and embellishing and all that good stuff. But I do want to remind you to always trim the center. So don't let your photo fall in the fold of your traveler's notebook, because if it does, it will bulk up your traveler's notebook really, really fast and things will start falling apart. So definitely trim it and make sure you do that so you don't bulk up your traveler's notebook. But anyways, you guys, I am done with this layout. This is layout number 1. Let's move on to layout number 2, which is a favorite of mine because it's the easiest, the simplest way to use an 8x8 in your traveler's notebook. Again, I'm going with a pattern that I know I will never use, and I'm not a big fan of animal print, so we're gonna cover this up. All I'm gonna do is take this to my typewriter, add my journaling, trim it in half, so it doesn't fall in the fold of my traveler's notebook. Then I'm gonna go through my drawer of stickers and add a sticker right above my journaling and call it done. It's as easy as that, you guys. It was like a good few days. Sabine had a lot of doctor appointments, so we were back and forth from doctor to doctor, and I just kind of journaled about how tiring it was. You know, basically, she just had all these appointments. She's okay, by the way. But I don't think I need anything else for this photo. It kind of tells the story. My journaling was added. I just went ahead and used one of my stickers from Feed Your Craft and call it done. It is one of my favorite ways to use large photos in my traveler's notebook, and I definitely recommend it, especially if you don't have time to be crafting all day. Moving on, we are going to layout number 3. You guys, another favorite. I love trimming around an image on my photo, especially these larger images. It just makes everything look so cool on your spread. It pops. It's a fun, different way to document a photo. So I'm documenting this very yummy suhoor that we had for Ramadan, and I just trimmed around my pan here. And then I'm gonna use some bold alphas to stamp out a title. I'm gonna use these large alphas from Studio Calco. I think this is called Isabel. And I'm gonna stamp Fave Ramadan Suhoor. Now, Ramadan is a large word, and I knew that it will not fit using this large alpha. So what I decided to do was start it with the large alpha. So I'm gonna stamp the R with this Isabel alpha stamp. And then the rest, I'm going to use a smaller alpha. I ended up using the same alpha I used on my first spread because I knew I could use that alpha to fill in with a different color or to add a pop of color to my spread. So you're going to see in a bit, but I literally just go back and forth from alpha to alpha, different fonts. Great way to change it up a little bit and make your word fit. And it just makes the spread even better and better. I'm telling you, once I fill out those alphas with my ink, it's going to look so cute. It's going to match my photo. It's perfection. Now, one of the reasons I love trimming down my photos like this is because it gives you so much more space on a traveler's notebook, especially a traveler's notebook, because you guys know your space is very limited. But trimming down your photo gives you that space. It's also pretty cool looking. It's fun to layer. I have plenty of videos on my channel where I've done this before. I trim around somebody's face or something, and then I will layer it with die cuts or my coffee cup. It just adds a lot of interest to your spread. But anyways, I went ahead and stamped stars. I stamped 3 stars because I thought it was a great way to add my journaling, probably kind of document all my favorite suhoors for Ramadan. And I'm gonna fill them out with yellow, and I'm gonna fill out my alphas with some red to match my photo. And then I'm gonna start embellishing. Now, I remembered that I had tomato paper from the paper person shop. Yes, tomato paper. So what I thought I would do was trim out a few of these tomatoes and add them next to this little label that's a part of my traveler's notebook. I thought it would look cute. It matches my photo. It matches what I'm documenting. So I trim out a few and I add them to the label. I thought I would use this label to stamp cooking. Now, when I stamped cooking in the label, I didn't realize that one of my spreads behind this spread had a chipboard right there in the center. And when I stamp out cooking, it stamps out all wonky. Now, I was sitting there thinking, how can I fix this? How can I fix this? Maybe I can double stamp it. Maybe, try to figure out how to fix my little boo-boo. But I end up just going through my label stickers, and I'm just gonna use a red label sticker to cover up my boo-boo and re-stamp it. Now, because this label is much smaller, cooking is not gonna fit, so I'm just gonna use the same stamp set from Feed Your Craft to stamp a few little sentiments and words in that label and just figure out a way to cover up my boo-boo. I always say this, it's not the end of the world if you stamp something and it doesn't work out or it's not as perfect as you want it to be. Just figure out a way to cover it up and retry it. And actually how this turns out looks so much better than what was in my head, because once I stamp out, I think I stamped perfection. And in the kitchen, I used a lot of these little tomatoes to create a cluster around my label. I'll even go back to that paper and trim out some more of the tomatoes, because I thought I wanted to balance out everything and there was a lot of space in the left corner of my spread. So I'm gonna create another cluster of tomatoes at that top corner. And before I add the tomatoes, I'm just gonna add some washi tape, again, balance things out and to bring in something different to my spread other than the tomatoes and my stamping. Gonna grab my word stickers. I want to also balance out the colors. I felt like it needed a little bit more black because of my pan, the edges of my pan. So I'm gonna use my word stickers for that. I will add a few to each of the clusters and then I call my layout done. I love this layout. I love how it pops. It's very comical kind of. And I just really love how these spreads turn out. But anyways, I'm gonna move on to spread number 4, which I will be creating a fold for my 8x8 photo. Creating foldouts for your larger photos gives you more space, either to add your journaling and your title, and it's just a lot of fun, adds that interactive element to your traveler's notebook. So I really, really enjoy creating foldouts for my larger photos. Now, what I'm gonna do is just grab some pattern paper. I trimmed it down to an 8x8. I'm also gonna trim down my photo in half. You might be asking why, but because we are going to create this little fold, I want that center to be free for me to use my bone folder and fold this over, and it won't crease my photo, if that makes sense. It's really simple, you guys. You can even create a hinge, and I've shared how to do that as well. If the paper was thicker, I would definitely go for creating a hinge instead of using a full sheet of 8x8 pattern paper. But again, it's not as thick, so I was okay with backing up my photo with it. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and stick it down, and now I have a fold for my spread and for my 8x8 photo, and I can use the opposite side to add a title. Now, because my photo is basically talking about what I will be reading in the month of April, and you can see the books, they're nice and clear, so I didn't feel like I needed to journal or type out the titles of these books or anything like that. So I felt like, I can use this side of my spread for my title, and then I can figure out what I'm gonna do with the fold, so the opposite side of my photo. But for now, I'm using these alphas again. When you are creating and you wanna create fast, Stick to the same alphas. Then you don't have to go through your stash looking for different types of alphas and all that good stuff. Especially if the alphas are good, go for it. I used the same alphas that I used for the other spread I've shared in the video today. So it just made the process easier. I stamped April TBR. I even grabbed my book stamps and I'm using those to add to my title. But now that my title is done, I can work on my fold. So what I thought I would do is use this ephemera pack from Future Craft. It's book themed. I thought I could go through it and find a few pieces that would work well with my spread. I love the girl with the stack of books. I think the size is perfect for this fold. So I'm going to go ahead and stick her down. I also found a circle that said "More books, please," which I thought would work like right above my title. And then I found a red banner that was perfect for my photo. It brings in some of the red from my pattern paper, and I love it. I'll also go back to my fold. I want to add a little something to the girl with the stack of books. So I'm going to go through my stickers here, my word stickers, add a few right underneath. And then I will grab some red puffy hearts just to bring in some of the red from my pattern paper to my fold out. And I believe I call this spread done. So easy, so quick. There's so many different ways where you can use your large photos in a small space like a traveler's notebook. I definitely recommend to kind of think outside the box and figure out different ways where you can use these larger photos in your traveler's notebook. Okay, you guys, I just want to go through the 4 different ways I shared with you on how to use your large photos in your small traveler's notebook. Now, the first one is one of my favorites. I do this all the time. You guys know this. I share them in my flip throughs and all that good stuff. Is literally just trimming your 8x8 in half, adding some journaling, a little bit of embellishment, and that's it. You're telling the story by using the photo and adding the journaling. And literally, that's all you need. I think this is my favorite because it's fast, it's quick, and it's documenting the moment. Next up is trimming your large photo. This is a favorite as well because it's fun and it just adds this really cool look to your spread. So trimming around your image and then just using some large alphas. Again, because I knew Ramadan was not going to fit with this Isabel alpha from Studio Calico. So I changed up my font. Again, it's fun. It's a nice little add-on and a great way to add a pop of color, using my paper just to add clusters to my spread. And that's about it. I'll go back in and add my journaling as I go, and we're good to go. A lot of times I don't add my journaling until later on because, I just want to create while I have the time. And then when I have more time, I'll go back in and add my journaling. But this is a favorite of mine, just kind of trimming around my photo and making everything pop. And it's just fun. I like the look of it. This one is another favorite because you're still using a large photo, but you're trimming it down a tiny bit so you can add a little bit of journaling, maybe a title. And I love using my alpha stamps to add a pop of color because these flowers are so pink. I wanted to add a different color and I used my title to do that and add some yellow. Then I just added a little bit of journaling. This is literally not even called journaling, but I'm kind of documenting my magnolia bush and how much I love it. So just adding like tidbits of how I take care of it was perfect. I love that. Again, you don't always have to journal. Not every photo has a major story. Yes, some do, but something like this, like I'm not going to sit there and talk about how magnificent my magnolia bushes are. So just adding this little card that I used from the stamp set was perfect. Adding a little bit of color by adding embellishing. Really love the simplicity of these types of spreads, and you get to use a large photo. Last but not least is creating a fold. These are so easy to do. It's a great way to add a large photo. If you still want to use some pattern paper or you want to add a title, this is a great way. You could even do the large photo on the spread, something like this one here, and do like a fold out. So something like that. And have your journaling on one side, your title on the opposite side. You can really play around with this. I love using foldouts in my traveler's notebooks, especially when I want to add photos, a larger photo, or more journaling, whatever the case is. I really love doing that, especially it adds a little space, extra space to your spread. But you could definitely do it this way, or like I shared earlier, just use the larger photo, stick it on your spread and create a little hinge for your fold and add some journaling and a title and all that good stuff. I love it. Again, I didn't add any journaling here because there's not much to say. I'm just documenting what I'm reading in April or what I want to read in April. So I love it. I love using large photos in my traveler's notebook. Don't be afraid to use large photos in your traveler's notebook. It's a lot of fun. It's a great little add-on to such a small space. You know, kind of think outside the box and try to figure out how to add those larger photos in your traveler's notebook. But anyways, you guys, that's it. I'm going to wrap this up. I hope you enjoyed watching this video. And if you did, please give me a thumbs up. And if you are new to my channel, please consider subscribing. And I hope to see you guys very soon. Bye.